Gonads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Free. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremo.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day of not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now, the two guys that took 2 years to fix their audio problems.
Oh, I almost forgot the mic. Welcome to BGFG episode 329. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and Fremo is still building his house, getting floors in and carpeting and shit like that. It's a process. It takes time. At least that's what he keeps telling me. Oh, welcome to another week. Everything seems to be looking good. You know, people are getting healthier. People are getting their vaccines and stuff. That's a good thing. And things are somewhat returning back to normal. In some ways. I mean, again, we're gonna be looking at the fallout from this for a very, very long time. Very long time. But let's get on with the show and try to entertain people and give you a drive or a walk or a run or however you're listening to the show. Give you a pretty decent listening experience. Who am I kidding?
Bullshit!
Yeah, it's going to suck like all the other shows. What else sucks is, unfortunately, not coming down for breakfast. So we do this all the time, and it's essentially, who's not coming down for breakfast. And we have a few of them this week. First one, Rush Limbaugh. 70 years old, died of stage 4 lung cancer. It's just a shame. You know, you never want to see anybody really. You just don't want to see that shit. But he was a broadcast journalist, been around for a very long time, was very political, had a lot of stroke, had a lot of people listen to him. And you can't get, it's nothing other than that. I mean, just a lot of people paid attention to what he said, whether you agreed with him or not. He had a voice. Next up will be Bruce Blackburn. He was 82, died, smiling in his bed, I believe. This is the guy that designed the NASA logo. He was, it was also known as a worm. It was the N and then the A and then the A, without the A having the little bottom piece, just the hook from the top to the bottom, like an upside down V. He was a minimalist artist, and that NASA logo has been with us forever, and it's an awesome logo. I mean, it really is. And lastly, at 52 years young, Prince Marky D. You might not know him, and if you're watching the video on YouTube, you'll see a picture of him. This was one of the founding members of Fat Boys. Now, you might think, well, Fat Boys. And then you might pause this, and you might go listen to a Fat Boy song. Oh, I remember those. Yeah, don't. Where the music did have its place at that time, it really didn't hold up that great. That's why you don't hear it on the radio, unfortunately. It's just that it's exactly what it was for that time. It was very basement-made, basic beats type thing. But what's really more important, I think, is that they're, Questlove said it best. He said they were so dope that we just took them for granted. They did dope routines and dance steps. Albums went gold and platinum. They did movies. They did TV. They did commercials. They sold their likeness. They explored territories for the first time that today just seems like a Tuesday. But they did it first. They really did. And they opened up the door for a lot of people. And I think that's awesome. That's commendable. So all three of these gentlemen, golden ticket and towel for when the alien ship comes up and they come to get your soul and your spirit, or however you want to say it. You have a golden ticket just in case. And you should always have a towel. We learned that from Hitchhiker's Guide. Okay, enough of that negativity. Let's get into this week's news because, man, I can't wait to tool on this guy.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first up in this week's news just is, you know what? We don't even mince words that much here. So this guy's just a POS. He's just a piece of shit. It's not finalized yet, but he's pushing for some. Someone just simply needs to remove Postmaster General DeJoy from his position as soon as possible, because he's just. It's not finalized yet, but he's pushing for some significant changes again. He's going to eliminate a tier of first-class mail, letters, bills, and other envelope-sized correspondence sent to a local address designated for delivery in 2 days would now be lumped into 4 to 5 day services, and you just hope that you get it there quicker if it's local. You just hope that the guy didn't call out or whatever the case was. Doesn't matter what it says on the front of the envelope anymore. Part of this is also that he wants to divert all first class to not using airplanes for transportation, but just trucks. Senator Tammy Duckworth out of Illinois became the first senator to call on Biden to quickly fire and replace this current member of the Postal Board, arguing in a letter that such a move is necessary to restore the accountability and credibility and send a message to future leaders that silence in the face of a campaign of sabotage will not be tolerated. And I tend to agree with her. I mean, we don't do politics on the show, but I mean, this guy's ruining the mail. They were only able to deliver 70% of their mail last year. And I get it. COVID. I get it. There was a lot of things I know if I was a mail carrier, I'd be concerned because everything I'm touching is suspect. So I get that. But at the same time, that's 70% of the mail. This is the fucking postal service, man. Neither rain nor sleet nor even snow. We've heard this for years. Several people that I know were still getting Christmas cards in January. On-time delivery of first-class mail dropped to 38% last year. I don't think that's, and again, he's going to turn around and use the COVID card. I agree, but you're living here. You'd still get postal mail. I'm sure everybody that listens does. I can tell you that here where I live, I see that postman maybe once every other day, maybe. Stuff that I was expecting in the mail sometimes, and there's not a lot. Doesn't get here soon at all. I can order something from across the country on Amazon and get it here way quicker than I could a letter from 2 towns over. Way quicker. It's a sad statement. And he has interest in other corporate delivery services. Might be a truck. Maybe. I mean, think about it. He was installed by Trump, one of Trump's friends. And again, I'm all about giving friends and people that helped you out throughout your campaign and stuff positions. That happens all the time, and it always will. But I think our last president did it way, way bad. Like he didn't do it right. First of all, he put his family into every position he possibly could, which was the first, just not something you should be doing. So the fact that he put all of his friends that he wanted to do on the postal committee or the council for it is just also wrong. But this guy has no intention of keeping the mail service or post offices open. It doesn't look that way at all. Like I said before, we don't take sides, political sides here on the show or in Phoenix Media Group at all, unless it's specific. But the Postal Service Board was put there by McConnell and Trump. The new administration needs to change that up before we no longer have any sort of post office to go to where a grandparent, and again, I know it's cliche and everything, but you never know. A grandparent could say, hey, so, some little kid wants to collect something here, collect stamps. My grandparent did it to me. Mentioned it, never took me, but I went and I started looking at mail. Why? Because it was right down the street. What parent is going to say no to a kid that says, I want to take my bike to the post office to get stamps? 9 times out of 10, they're like, here's a $5, get me more. For whatever they were doing. But that was back then. Now you don't really use them. But still, they need to be there. And here's something else that the sheep will need to pay attention to. Clearview AI. I don't think anybody's paying attention to these folks. These guys are asshats. So Clearview AI was a company founded by Ton That. Ton That. He's an Australian techie and a one-time male model. Yeah, you got it. So his background is that he created 2 apps. One was to replace your hair in pictures with Donald Trump's hair, and the other one was just this weird, obscure iPhone game. That's his claim to fame. But he did create Clearview AI. This tool not only allow anyone to be able to walk down the street again, this tool will allow anyone walking down the street to scan your face anonymously. You'll never even know it. In fact, they claim that they have over 3 billion photos, and they're constantly growing. They've provided it to Clearview AI to hundreds of law enforcement organizations. We did a story last year that had a rich guy sitting in a restaurant, and he saw his daughter walk in with a new boyfriend or something. He didn't know him. So he handed the waiter his phone, and he said, "Hey, can you go snap a picture of that guy for me?" And the guy's like, "What are you talking about?" He fired up the app, and then he told the guy, he's like, "Just walk over there and take the picture. That's all you have to do." And he did. And as soon as he took the picture, by the time he got back to the table, that guy knew everything about his daughter's date. Everything. They've already said that they've scraped most of the information from Facebook, YouTube, Venmo, and a whole bunch of others. So they're just scraping all. Again, when we talk on the show about the pitfalls of social media, one of those things is the people that just put everything they ever owned on Facebook. Every picture, every family friend, every, here's me and my cousin, or here's me and my father-in-law. Well, there's names attached to those, and there's tagging going on in those. So again, even if you didn't, and we've said this before on these shows, or these topics, that even if you were conscious enough to not set up your security wrong on your social media account, the fact that somebody else can share that picture, and that in turn allows their security to override yours, should concern you enough. I mean, that's just, come on. Facebook was scared, and they still are, that iPhone OS, the new one, will warn you when it's tracking you. That bothered them. They said they're going to lose too much business. That should affect somebody. So, like Facebook, YouTube, Venmo, all of them have all sent cease and desist letters to Clearview AI. But, of course, it's not going to really go that well because law enforcement kind of wants that. They, of course, are going to use it for good, but what happens to the people that don't? If this Clearview AI thing gets out, just like the backdoor for an iPhone or anything else like that, if that gets out, it's going to be, look, it's bad enough we don't have any privacy at all anyway. But if this gets out into the open, then you're going to have people that are going to be able to scan you at any time and tell everything possibly about you. So even if you want to walk in someplace and be anonymous, just go in, get your coffee, and leave. Let's say you're semi-famous or internet famous or whatever the case is. You walk in to a store, somebody can just lift up their phone, drop it, that long, got a picture of you, got an image of you, it'll do facial recognition, and apparently it works really well, and it will eventually tell you your name. It can tell anything. The story we did last year, I think they got name, phone number, where he went to college, where he went to high school, his GPA. I mean, it's crazy when I see people do this. I mean, not only, look, there's no privacy. Not only is there really it's controversial, but now they partner with ICE and Homeland Security, which is equally controversial right now. So, the new contract, it's worth $224,000, and are going to provide them with all Clearview licenses. That might not be a lot of money, but when you have hundreds of agencies giving you this money, that's not only an issue of privacy, but that's a lot of money that they're going to be raking in. But Canada wants no part of this at all. None. They said, and I quote, "Collecting highly sensitive biometric information without the knowledge or consent of individuals is wrong." And I agree. Somebody should put that on a shirt because it's absolutely true. Without permission, it's not fair. It's not. And right now we're getting to the point where one thing happens, whether it's a false flag or not, one thing happens and everybody gets so paranoid and so nervous that somebody else takes away your freedom and your privacy. I shouldn't say freedom because a lot of people throw that around. They take away your privacy. Now, I agree because I agree with the people that are sitting there walking around or driving and saying, well, I don't do anything wrong, so what the hell do I care? I agree. I don't do anything wrong either. I don't really care. You want to take my picture and you want to post it somewhere, that's fine. As long as it doesn't end up on the side of a milk carton, I'm good. But I still didn't give you permission. So if there's a group photo or something somewhere that somebody uses, it's just like the guy that gets a picture taken near a fountain and then somebody's using it for an advertisement. that's long dead. I mean, that doesn't happen really too much anymore. But these people never get paid for that, and that's wrong. You're making money off of that image. You should get paid. With Clearview AI, they're taking a snapshot of you, and it's scrubbing information from all social media and others, and that's a privacy thing. What happens if you're a lady, a good-looking girl that goes to Starbucks, or you're a barista at Starbucks, some guy that comes in daily, he's got a super crush on you, and he gets to be one of those creepers. Next thing you know, he's, snaps a picture of you when you aren't looking. Then he goes and finds out everything about you. Next thing you know, when you're at your gym, because you go to the local gym that's 2 blocks away from your house. Well, he already knows where your house is, but that'd be wrong. But he's going to sign up for your gym and go work out with you and maybe try to make a connection with you. That's creepy shit. Okay? That's creepy shit. And that can't happen. And this is what's going to happen. I guarantee you. Look, it's going to happen. People stalk already from Facebook, from Twitter, from Instagram, any geolocated services. People are getting stalked. Why are you going to make it easier? And Clearview AI's argument for this whole thing, regardless of what's said, their argument states that, well, these images are scrubbed from public sites. I got to admit, they're not wrong. These are all from public sites. You put yourself out there. You put yourself into a public domain to do that. I mean, even the blind can see that this is a globally blind, just bad idea. But you never know. I mean, we could get lucky and maybe they don't do it. Though I doubt that's ever going to happen. God knows we're going to see Clearview AI a lot more in the news. Be mindful. You know what else is good about seeing is, again, you want to talk about good news sometimes. So how about if we can get the blind to see again? I think that'd be great. So would you. There's a company, Coordinate Vision. It's in its clinical stages. It's a biometric implant technology company. Okay, their platform is 100% synthetic, non-degradable, porous material. I'm going to read this, and this is not going to make sense. So I cut and paste this. My wife has got a medical background, and I had to read it to her like a couple of times. So bear with me a minute. I'm just going to read this. 100% synthetic, non-degradable, porous material which mimics the microstructure of the extracellular matrix, ECM, the natural biological collagen mesh providing structural and biochemical support to surrounding cells. When implanted, this material stimulates cellular proliferation, leading to progressive tissue integration. This fully validated in vivo platform enables the biomechanical integration of permanent implants with live tissue and does not trigger an adverse immune system response. Now, 2 things. Number 1, if this was in the second half of the show, and for what it's worth, there's no way I would have been able to get that whole paragraph out. No way. After a drink and anything else, no. After the intermission, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But back to what it is. So I put a picture in well, you'll see it on the show notes. If you watch the video, you'll see it. It's one of those things that you're not going to be able to look away from. And the picture on the YouTube channel is the same thing. So what this company is, and again, that's a lot of words. Essentially, they figured out a way to put an implant into your body, in this case, the eyeball, which is significant. And the material that they created enables biomechanical integration, meaning that the cyborgs, cyborgs is what it turns out to be. This is like the first kind of thing. But it's great because, it's an eyeball. The Coronet K Pro is the first artificial cornea which completely integrates with the eye wall and no reliance on donor tissue. And it doesn't create an immune system response, which is good too. It won't reject the eye. And it's been implanted on a human already. A legally blind 78-year-old man from Israel can now see text and people. That's amazing. That is, where do I even have a clapping anymore? No, because this is this show. We don't clap often. But that is a great. These are the trials, but these are just the trials. But even Canada, France, Netherlands, even the U.S. are all starting the same trials because it's monumental. And I'm really pissed off that I don't see this more in the news at all. I had to dig around for this story, and this is pretty pathetic because this could make blind people see. Legit. If you ever, I believe the way I read the article, you have to check the article in the show notes. But if everything goes right, you won't have to, like, if you were completely blind from birth, I don't know if it works because the cornea, or however they called it, in the back of the eye socket isn't there. But if you did see at some point, this will bring back your sight because the connections, almost like the connections are already there. I think it's just great. And another ray of light that I found this week, because again, we can't have all negative, was something called bug bounties. And I don't know if you know about this. This is quite interesting. So not so long ago, it was a big deal that Apple, among many other software companies, decided that it would use gray hat and white hat hackers to find bugs in their software. First of all, it's quicker. Second of all, it stops it from getting to industrial espionage type things and having, people sell backdoors and stuff on the open internet. That's what it stops. And it stops it pretty well. Not too bad. Now you might be thinking, what's in it for the hacker? Well, instead of selling the information on the black market, which can get you arrested, it can get you a lot of money, but not a whole lot of money for some stupid little security issues. But it'll still make you some money. So these companies had to make it a little bit of an incentive to get these bugs cleared out, and it gives them better software. So they thought to themselves, why let them sell it on the black market? Why don't we just pay them? And that's what they started doing. Intel, they'll pay you a minimum of $500 all the way up to $30,000. Yahoo's got no minimum limit, but they'll go up to $15,000. And you might be thinking that's not a lot. Well, it's not a lot to be done. Intel's basically a chip maker. So if they're doing a chip, then, well, yeah, it's not a lot to go on. Yahoo, that shit's broken. So whatever security flaw you're trying to find is most likely in a login. So there's very unique ways, and you'll figure it out on different ones, like Snapchat. It's $2,000 minimum and $15,000 top end because they want to know if there's a little hole because of Snapchat. Where Cisco kind of saddened me a little bit. Cisco, which is a back-end framework, kind of important. Theirs is $100 to $2,500. Not a lot. My thinking behind that is that Cisco's literally rock solid. That's why everybody uses them. Cisco engineers get paid the most. It's crazy. There's like 7 Cisco certifications. I know people that have 2 certifications, and they barely leave their house for work. And they make well into the 6 figures. Facebook has no limits, and that's Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. They have no limitations at all. Front, back, top, bottom. Which is interesting because I don't think they really care. I think that's why they never posted any of their monies, because they just don't care. Google's $300 minimum to $31,337, which I think is elite number if you turn it upside down, but because that's weird to have that type of money. Microsoft's flexing a little bit at $15,000 to $250,000, but again, Microsoft's doing that because they have Azure, they have Windows, they have to make sure their shit's good. Apple only goes to about $200,000, but their minimum, there's no bottom end. They kind of like pay out pretty good, from what I've been told. Nobody really talks about a lot of the payments because I think if they talk about the payments, kind of like if you're Hyundai and you're talking about a car that you're going to help Apple build, they stop talking to you. So if you're a bug bounty specialist and you went in and you said that Apple pays you a minimum of this, I'm pretty sure you're never going to get another bounty ever again. Alex Burson, on the other hand, was able to prove exploits in over 35 companies. Apple, Microsoft, PayPal, Shopify, Netflix, Yelp, Tesla, Uber, the list goes on and on. He totaled a little over $130,000, so that's pretty good. The exploit was, I don't remember. I didn't write it down because I didn't want people to worry about it, but it was something pretty basic. I think it was a flaw that we recently saw throughout the tech industry that is a flaw. It's just simply a flaw in, I think it was a scheduling system or something like that. And it's in everybody's. So it's easily patched. But this guy found it, immediately sent it to everybody. And that's how he made $130,000. So good on him. That's really good. Awesome. Cannot get angry about that. All right, so that's it for the news for this week. So we're going to get into this week's music, which is always fun. So this week, what I decided to do was, again, try to bring new music to people. So I'm bringing you a Canadian rock band out of Ontario, formed in 2011. They've got one EP, and they've got 3 full-length albums, with the last one that they did was in 2019. This is Glorious Sons, Closer to the Sky, and we'll catch you on the other side for some fun.
Eyes wide open, people's like dogs, mama's little boys on the ride of this life, and it's alright. Mind over body, body over mind. Really doesn't matter if you can't tell the stars from the street lights. Lying on your back by the sewer grate, kisses on your face from the neon bright. There's no pain. Clench your jaw, tingle your spine to the moon jack. We got time, it's alright. Come a little closer to the sky. It's better than wondering why. It's better than breaking. We're on your side. Everything you hear is a lie, and everyone's running out of time. It's better than waiting. We're on your side. Come a little closer to the sky. Leave downtown before you get slaughtered. Bonfire shining on the black water. It's alright. Sand on your feet, wind in your hair. You're a silhouette in the summer air. You're so light. On the edge of the lake, at the edge of the night, she's looking at you with dangerous eyes and a half smile. You give her a kiss, she bites your lip. You say I love you, she says you're full of shit. She's so right. Come a little closer to the sky. It's better than wondering why. It's better than breaking. We're on your side. Everything you hear is a lie, and everyone's running out of time. It's better than waiting. We're on your side. Come a little closer to the sky. Down here, everyone with a plan is on something, and everyone falling in love is lonely. It's alright. Come a little closer to the sky. It's better than wondering why. It's better than breaking. We're on your side. Everything you hear is a lie, and everyone's running out of time. It's better than waiting. We're on your side. Come a little closer to the sky. Come a little closer. Come a little closer. Come a little closer to the sky.
That is good stuff. I really do like that. I just like happy songs lately. I shouldn't say that because there's always you go through things. Next week is probably going to be Daft Punk, possibly, because they broke up. I didn't put it in the show this week, but I'm kind of bummed about that. Really like them. But what can you do, right? Let's get to this week's Stick Style News.
Gaming.
So I am super happy to announce on this show, and God knows I've already announced it, was that G4 is coming back, as we've talked about before on the show. But they're bringing back Attack of the Show and X-Play. So it's the best 2 shows that they had after Tech TV. And if those of us that are older on this podcast will remember Tech TV. Tech TV was a channel on cable way up high on the nobody cared level that was all about technology. Leo Laporte was there, who grew up in Cranston. His family, I believe, still lives out there. He lives in California now. He's created, and he was one of the first. When everybody in tech kind of got fired from, it's hard to explain. There was a time in the 90s, I want to say, early 2000s to mid 2000s, where the tech industry was really, I should say the media industry was really kind of in its infancy, and nobody really knew where to be. Everybody knew it was getting popular, right? Everybody knew it was getting popular, but nobody knew how to monopolize on it. Ziff Davis started a channel, Tech TV. It worked out great, and it was great for us geeks and everything. I can tell you without a doubt that before I went to college, before I went to school for technology, watching that show just gave me oodles of information. I could not get enough. I was recording it on the DVR when it first came out. Before that, maybe it was still videotape. No, I think it was DVR at that point. I'm pretty confident I was working for the cable company at the time, so I probably had their first DVR. And I would just eat up every show. And they had screensavers. They had Call for Help. These are all Leo Laporte shows. Screensavers was like a variety show. Call for Help was exactly what it sounds like. They would show you live on the TV how to fix a specific error, and they take live phone calls. Why? Because like me, Leo got his start in radio. And that bug, once you get bit, you really can't stop. So podcasting became a natural transition. And what he did was he turned around and he made it an entire network. He's got like 12 shows. Sometimes he drops a couple of shows, adds new shows. Just an incredible podcast network. I envy him and applaud him for everything he does. Tech TV stayed on for a while after Ziff Davis fired them, and they changed it to G4. Again, another company bought it, rebranded it, had no idea what to do with it. So it ended up being a bunch of like Star Trek reruns and tech geek movies, which was, again, perfectly fun. But it looked like G4 looked more like G4 looked more like a TV station that was run from the movie Hackers. You know, some movie that had a cliche where, again, being not a hacker, but being a geek and stuff, there's often times where in the corner of my screen I might have a video running of a movie from one of the many services that I subscribe to. I might have it just going like a Godzilla movie or something I don't pay attention to while I'm writing show notes or working on websites and stuff. Excuse me. Oh, I gotta get a drink. Sorry about that. So they're bringing back Tech of the Show and X-Play. It was their best two shows. X-Play is about gaming, of course. And it ran from 1998 to 2013. So essentially it was always there. And it was always there. But even in the early days, X-Play was not considered a top-level show. It was fun. It was nice to see games, but a lot of the games that they were talking about were a lot of the games that my age group wasn't really playing. Some of them were, some of them weren't. But again, the grand scheme of things, you can't, Steam has hundreds and hundreds of games on there. EA Play has, 100 games on there maybe? So you can't go over every single game all the time, but it was good to get the gaming news. And I think today it would do far better because you have the issues with the video cards, you have the AMD versus Intel, AMD GPUs and CPUs talking to each other, Intel not being able to get below 10 nanometers. So there's a lot of these little things that they would really talk about. They did reviews, they did gameplay, they did early esport, and they did comedy skits that were hilarious. They were starring Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb, and then you had Kristen Adams doing a lot of the Morgan Webb. I'm a guy, okay? Adam Sessler is that geeky, good-looking guy that looks like, he's got blonde hair, but his hair's receding, but his comedy is so funny, and his delivery and his timing is great. Morgan Webb, beautiful. Kristen Adams, gorgeous. Those two love technology, love gaming. They actually game, and they're good. They will whoop your ass. Blair Hunter's another one. As for a guy, handsome-looking dude. Again, understood in new games somewhat, but he was more comedy, and he was very funny. Again, good timing. We appreciate that on BGFG. Then you have Attack of the Show. Now, Attack of the Show is a whole nother animal entirely. It's a live variety show. It ran from 2005 to 2013. It had a shit ton of people on it all the time, but it starred and hosted Kevin Pereira, who I think is I don't know why he's not on other things, because he's so friggin' funny. I think his timing, his delivery, I think he's a geek. He gets the geek culture. And this show is a lot about the geek culture. And if you don't know what that is, every popular thing has a culture, and geeks have a culture too. You know, we geek out on showing each other pictures, not of our kids, but of our computer build, or you know, telling somebody that I just 100%ed a game, meaning I got all the achievements and unlocked everything. That's a geek culture thing. So Kevin Pereira was there, and Olivia Munn. Yes, that Olivia Munn. Before she was in X-Men, which, by the way, X-Men, she was Psylocke. Perfect casting. Just, again, perfect. I love perfect casting, and that was one of them. She got her start on that show, and she was freaking hilarious. Again, as we've spoke about before in the show, Olivia Munn, much loved. The great thing about Olivia Munn is she's not an idiot. She knows exactly who she is, what she is, and how she looks. She said it before. She's like, Velvet Sky was the only other person or celebrity I've ever seen or heard that said a similar thing. Velvet Sky, when I used to see her at Comic-Con all the time, and when I did, I would often end up I'm a big guy, I would end up clearing the way for her to get to her booth. Her and Olivia Munn said the same thing. I work hard for my body. I work in the gym multiple hours a day, 4 to 6 hours a day. I'm working out on some way. If I drive traffic by guys thinking I'm sexy and good looking, but I'm not going over that edge. For instance, Olivia Munn was asked before for a movie role. She's refused several movie roles for not going topless. I respect the shit out of that. You know, I just absolutely do. I think that is the best thing ever. I think that takes a lot of morals, and you're going to lose a lot of jobs because of that. I think in the pre-Weinstein era, or was that the yeah. So in the post-Weinstein era, I don't think they're going to have a problem just saying no and still getting the role. They'll just take out that particular part and find some other way to make it work, which is what they should be doing anyway. A lot of times when I hear about an actress turning down a sex scene because they don't want to be shot nude, I think that's a lot of the people that are in charge going, I want to see that girl's boobs. I'm a boob guy too, bro, but that's wrong. If you know that person's good for that role and the director decided and the producer decided they're good for that role, you shouldn't have any input at all, period, you fuck. Anyway, so Olivia Munn was on Attack of the Show as well. And her and, like I was saying before, just to finish that thought, they both said it. They work very hard for what they do. They understand what they do. They take pride in what they do to a certain point. Like, of course, like Olivia Munn said at one time, I can't remember where it was, but she made the assessment of this. There was a hot dog hanging, which they show in like every commercial. Yes, she's not an idiot. She knows what that's supposed to insinuate. But at the same time, that drove a lot of traffic, made her more marketable, made Kevin Pereira more marketable, made the show more marketable, which gives her a fucking job. Okay? She's really good. Olivia Munn's awesome. So those two had great chemistry too. I mean, just incredible chemistry. They would just feed off each other, and it was just awesome. January, they did a reunion special. I encourage you to watch G4 Reunion on YouTube. I encourage you when you get a chance. It's not that long, and it is a good snapshot of what G4 turned out to be. It's just really good. So all the teasers all indicate that they will be back in the summer of 2021. All the indicators. And the only wild card I can see is Olivia Munn. That's the only one. She may or may not be back. G4 will also have wrestler Xavier Woods. Real name, I think, is Austin Creed. I got to look that up. I don't remember. But Xavier Woods from The New Day. he's going to be on the network as well, and I'm pretty sure he's bringing his Up, Up, Down, Down, which is great because Up, Up, Down, Down is gaming show. I can't believe nobody thought of that, but he should, and he has the power and the money and all that shit. Up, Up, Down, Down, little Konami code. You know it, you love it. That's what it's all about. The Konami code. I'm thinking that he's going to have a spot there for Up, Up, Down, Down. And I'm also pretty sure they haven't announced it yet because they still have to work out the deal with WWE. And again, as I say it 3 times in a fucking row, we are fans at Phoenix Media Group of pro wrestling. Whether you are or not, don't give a shit. I don't do a show about it because it really takes so much energy. There's so much going on all the time. But we are wrestling fans. And Xavier Woods is a hell of a wrestler, good professional wrestler, but his show, Up, Up, Down, Down, I can't believe nobody got that copyright before. I mean, that's brilliant, Xavier. Good on you. Man, I'm gonna give you a clap right here. Because that's absolutely brilliant. I'm thinking his show is gonna come over. That's what I think. So I'm really glad they got all of them back. They all work so well together. Every show, X-Play, Attack of the Show, the whole cast that you see in the reunion is the cast that should come back and the cast that works, and they work very well together. You know what else worked really well was the Nemesis system. You remember this? The Nemesis system? There was once a great game based on the Lord of the Rings universe, and it was Middle-earth Shadows of Mordor. Okay? You with me? Shadows of Mordor? Gotcha. Released in 2014. Not only was it a good game based on Middle-earth, the Tolkien kind of realm, I guess you could say, Middle-earth, but the game engine is what everyone didn't see coming. The game engine was fucking brilliant. If you see Middle-earth Shadows of Mordor at your local GameStop or Best Buy or Target or Walmart or wherever you go shopping and you see it and it's short money, grab it. Just for the simple fact that you might not like it. It's kind of a role-playing hack and slash. That can be fun. But the more important thing is just witness the Nemesis engine. Give it 2 hours of gameplay. I don't care how you stretch that out, but give it 2 hours of gameplay. And I guarantee you're going to sit there and go, why doesn't every game not do this? Racing game, it doesn't matter. Anyway, here's how the Nemesis engine works in Shadows of Mordor. In Shadows of Mordor, it has the potential to work elsewhere. So the top tier enemies or your rivals will be the top officers. And as I put the picture up on YouTube, and you can look it up, Nemesis, and just look up images, and you'll see the image. So the top tier in the picture and like in the game, the very top tier is your rivals. These guys are extremely tough, but you have to do 3 rows in this game. You have to do 3 rows of tiered enemies. For instance, the top row of generals has 7 guys, 6 or 7 guys. And then the next tier is captains, and those have 6 or 7 guys. And then the next one is lieutenants or whatever the hell it is. Those are all there. 3 tiers or 4 tiers total if you count the top tier. When you beat an enemy, you have a choice to recruit them or kill them, which is pretty cool. If you kill them, then another random enemy will take their place, and you'll see it. They'll show you this board, and this is the way, again, not every game has to do this, but that enemy slides, it shows the mechanics, I think, is what I'm trying to bring up in Mordor. It'll show the mechanics of how you just killed that guy, so another guy from a lower rank or in his group, his platoon takes over. He might be more tough. He might be tougher. He might be faster. He might be a different guy entirely. He might be a different type of orc in this game. You just don't know. So if you choose to recruit, then that enemy will be on your side. Now, he's still doing his own thing. He doesn't really attack you, and you try to stay away from him. But if you do come across him, he won't fight as hard as he would. He'll basically let you kill him. If you stay away from him, then he's always going to be on your side. And what you can do is you can use a command button on the keyboard, mouse, keyboard controller, whatever you choose, and you can have them attack your enemies. And you don't always win, but it will change the battle and give you an opening. So say if you have one of your generals that you've owned for 4 or 5 turns, and you have them turn on their guy, you have that option. You turn them, and as soon as you turn them, they fight, they win. Then that hard general that you were going to fight because he's not part of your group would be really tough. If he lost, if your guy lost, that guy is going to be doubly tough because he just upgraded because he beat somebody. For whatever reason, he beat somebody. So when you go fight him, it's going to be really hard. So it gets kind of interesting because you end up trying to find as many followers or recruits as you can in that next tier. That way you can kill off that tier. Or when you finally get to that tier boss or whatever the case may be, or a hard guy that you couldn't beat before, you just activate these other 3 guys and they turn. Another choice you can make is that when you have them all as your recruits, then when the end battle comes, you just have them turn around and kill the people that don't agree. Pretty fucking easy. It's really cool. Think about all the games that you could play that would benefit from that system, right? Racing games are the first thing to pop into my mind. You accidentally or intentionally bump somebody in the corner. I've done it with computer. I won't do it on live because I'm out of our whole Phoenix Media Group team gaming. I'm more or less one of the racers. So when you're in racing and you hook in that corner and you take it a little bit hot, yeah, you can bump into that guy that took the corner a little bit earlier and correctly and use them. I only do that in the single player, and you'll see me do it on some of the videos if you look on YouTube on stick style. There's several times where I just took that corner just a smidge too hot, started sliding out. Instead of getting off the gas, I'm just going to use that guy, that computer, that AI in front of me, that NPC, boop, just bop him once and get around the corner. Look, it happens. Live, I would never do that. I'd hammer on the brakes and just stop and lose a bunch of... Anyway. So imagine if you hit that person. The next match, they're like doubly aggressive. Then the next match, if they win or come in a higher rank, they start challenging you. They're able to challenge you. How about if when you're sitting there in second or third, the computer makes sure that he's in fourth. And every corner he gets, he's trying to wreck you because he's the team of the person in second or the person in front of you in the standings. You know how teams work in racing. So it's really interesting how this could be played out. In fact, Warner Brothers they just got the patent for this. Just got the patent. And this was supposed to be done on a Batman game. The Batman trilogy that's out, this was supposed to be on that Nemesis engine. That would have been friggin' brilliant, man. Just brilliant. You could turn like some non-important characters in Batman, like Firefly or Poison Ivy, and then use them to your advantage. That'd be brilliant. Turn on them right at a great time. Turn on Joker. Just wonderful. So the WB got the patent, but I mean, too bad. They literally have no clue what to do with any digital content or licensing. They are really morons. I feel bad for them. They just don't know how to get it going. You have one of the best, I would say, IPs, you know, for geeks and shit, and you don't know jack shit what to do with it. You really don't. Look at the Batman franchise in any way, shape, or form. The Batman franchise just sucks. I mean, even Microsoft has figured out how to enter the digital realm and stay current. You know, for instance, let's look at the new Xbox. Okay, so I get to pause this show, so the live show is going to end. And then I'll have to pick it up after. I have an important phone call conversation that needs to happen. I apologize for anybody who's watching live.